Good morning, EVERYPONY. I apologize. Hello, it's me, Penny, and welcome back to another episode of Emptying Your Bank Account in the Name of Saint Nicholas. As of recording, it's just been Black Friday, and that was rough. It's the 1st of December when this video is releasing, and I'm going to try and be merry this year. I generally love Christmas, in between the seasonal affective disorder, but it's a time that I romanticize a lot in my head, because how can you not? The intense nostalgia of it all, the smells in the morning of festive candles, the sounds of wrapping paper, sitting on your living room floor, in your pajamas, hot chocolate in hand, waiting for the go-ahead on those boxes. Before I finish that seamless transition into today's subject, I apologise if I sound a little bit weird. I've been violently sick for the past week, but the show goes on, ladies and gentlemen. But today's subject is romanticism. I'm a romantic at heart, which is a great and horrific trait to have, depending on what I'm romanticizing. Like romanticizing a little coffee and reading sesh, that's great. We love that. Very productive, maybe you're reading Camus or like Nietzsche, like, oh, mysterious. Or, maybe you're at the gym, like, yeah, I'm conquering struggles and physically growing. This is humanity actualized, baby. Those are good things to romanticize, right? Romanticizing smoking cigarettes, laying on the floor, listening to Radiohead is not a vibe. Okay, that's not good for you. Get off the floor. You aren't Effie Stoneham from Skins. You have work tomorrow. Getting back onto subject, I talk about creativity a lot, and it's because expression is something that means a lot to me. And I think there is a deep connection between expression and romanticism. When you look at any art form, but specifically writing and fashion, the romantic nature of it is so obvious. I mean, Japanese writing is built on this. Take Yukio Mishima, for example, the author that I made my favourite book video about. His entire life was essentially about the romanticization of the things that he cared for. And I think that's what I like about him. God knows he wasn't a good person, so it can't be anything else. For the second one, I don't think I really have to explain how fashion romanticizes stuff. Like, watch a single runway show. It's all about the encapsulation of a vibe and making it what you want to be in a romantic and attractive way, buying into an idea. I think the value of romanticism is the third-person perspective that it can offer, which is really powerful for two main reasons. The first being that it offers a disconnect between you and the action. When you are actively romanticizing something, you are removing all context and thought that you might be experiencing and simply viewing the moment and the actions that are happening, which is, in a roundabout way, kind of a meditation. When you do that, you're experiencing the current moment wholly and in a way that's framed to be a pure expression of what you want it to be. It's a way of controlling your perspective and actions that can provide much joy, but also much pain, obviously, depending on what you're romanticizing. Regarding the third person point, the romantic period in art, which was like the late 18th and early 19th century, if you look at the works from this time, you will see a lot of the paintings are in like a third person perspective. The most obvious examples of that being The Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog and Liberty Leading the People. And I think that is because this is a practice that sort of relies on that disconnect from reality, that third person perspective. You know what thoughts you have and how they affect you, and if you're someone who is super self-aware, you are probably hyper-aware of how they affect your actions, and that can ruin a lot of moments. So by offering a disconnect, it allows you to enjoy those moments more. If you're out with friends, for example, and you're hyper-analysing everything you say because you want to make a good impression, a good way of breaking that cycle is being like, wow, look at this, we're all here in spite of everything, enjoying each other's company and coming together. That romanticism and the mindfulness that comes from that is a great tool. The second part of romanticism is how it informs our memories. We're creatures of narrative. We craft ideas and notions through our experiences, which then later inform our actions. Please see the I Feel Like a Loser video if you want to hear me yap about that more. I'm particularly proud of that video's script, but anyway. As I mentioned at the start about Christmas Day and the nostalgia of it, we can, and I personally do, romanticize things that have happened, which I think is important. It's really easy to be regretful and dwell on the cringier bad moments, which is something I'm very guilty of. Those times in school where maybe you said something that you shouldn't have and everyone goes quiet and you're like, oh god, why did I do that? Now everyone's looking at me. We've all been there, or at least I hope so, because that would make me feel better. But yeah, it's easy to dwell on those moments. But by viewing things through this sort of romantic lens, it allows and forces you to look upon things with a kinder eye, which, what's the harm in that? giving yourself a little bit of a break. There's a little bit of harm in it, to be honest. As I've mentioned, it's important not to romanticize harmful periods of your life, which I think is something that is pretty easy to do, especially if you've suffered for a long time. It's easy to have like a weird nostalgia for it. I do believe that there is an inherent value in having belief and enjoyment of your own experience, which romanticism can offer. I think it's a key part in building self-confidence and, as I mentioned earlier, narrative, which is something that will 100% impact how you go through life. I'm very aware that there are a lot of ways that people tackle life. You know, you've got romanticism, nihilism, cynicism, and what's popular at the minute is absurdism. And while I'm not smart enough to explain all of these to a remotely decent extent, I understand why people go through these different paths. And to be honest, a part of me thinks it's beautiful that perspective can be shifted that way. I've had phases where I could be classed as one of all of the philosophies I've just mentioned, but I've always returned back to romanticism. I wish I could tell you why, to be honest. I'm unsure. I have a nature that just leans that way, I guess. But I think owning that is important. We spend a lot of time fighting with ourselves and trying to be something because, you know, we care about our own lives, right? At least I hope you do. But I think there is a value in recognizing the ways that you are inclined and not fighting against them so much. Emotions and things like that don't just exist to be wrestled with. They're cropping up for a reason, so it's nice to listen to them. I think there's a beauty in everything, including the mundane and the normal. That, I would say, even more so. And I believe if you look for it, it really is all around you. A writer in their environment, an old couple shuffling down a leaf-ridden path, a student staying up late at night studying, an early morning walk to school, hell, hopping on goddamn Kino with the fellas. Everything is romantic to a certain extent. As a wise woman once said, feel the rain on your skin. And on that note, my name has been Penny. Pull over if you get tired, call me back, and bye.